So what we have is a root zone reservoir capacity, or what we're really concerned about is our available water holding capacity. And then we know that that available water, only about half of it is readily available. This same chart tells me the percentage of readily available water in different crops. They're virtually all 50%, except the vegetables, those are 40%. And the exception to that would be probably potatoes. I'll get down here. It's 25%. So let's take a look at potatoes and apply it to this example. Potatoes in this Yakima soil, 2-foot profile. Does everybody have their calculator handy? 0.17 times 12.
2.04.
2.04, and also 0.14 times 12.
1.68.
1 point what?
68.
6.8. So in the 2-foot profile, if we're growing potatoes in this Yakima silt loam, we're going to have a total of 3.72 inches of water available. That's available water. But for the potatoes, it says I can only use 25%. That's for potatoes. So I really only have how much water available? Multiply that times 0.25.
0.93.
Perfect. That's all the water we have available for potatoes in that soil, which is not bad, really. In the 2-foot growth zone that those potatoes are living in.
How do you know that they're 2.5? Is that just something you know, or is it?
I pulled it right off my little information here. It told me potatoes are at 25% of the available water capacity. Right. So I looked it up on my irrigation guide data. Now potatoes are the worst crop out there. Let's see onions. I know they're pretty bad. We'll take a look at them, see if I'm lying to you. 35, a multiplier of 0.35 for onions.
That's already available.
And so that would be the amount of water that crop can actually draw out of that profile before it goes into stress and starts devaluing the quality of the crop that you're trying to grow, and also reducing the quantity that you're growing. So that becomes the maximum water. So what we have to do when we're irrigating with this particular soil is we know that we can never let more than 93/100 of an inch get used up through consumptive use and evaporation before we have to re-irrigate. Well, the average rate in July is about 45/100 of an inch a day of use here in this area. So we got 2 days water supply before we have to get back and water that crop again. Now you think that's severe, you take a look at what it takes on a bent grass green. Now all of a sudden you have a profile that deep with very low water holding capacity, and you see why you have to water them twice a day. You end up with a minuscule, 1 inch times 0.5 at best. Let's see what they do for turf here. How far can we take turf? Probably under pasture turf combination. There it is, 50%. So they'd go 50%. But of course this is a silt loam. Gosh, this number is going to be much less on a sand-based green. This number could be 0.10 real easily. Times 50%, you got a half, and that's a foot, and you're only working on half of a foot. You're down there to 25/100 of an inch that you got to play with. So obviously it isn't going to make it a day without going into severe stress on a hot July day. So you got to go in and water them in the afternoon.
The root depth, does it depend on the variety, or is that just
potatoes? Potato varieties would have slight variations, but pretty good average number.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the quicker growing that they harvest sooner probably are going to have a little shallower root zone. The ones that, like those chip potatoes, they take off real early in the season, might not root quite as deep.
So if you plant a russet and Chevy together, the root depth is going to be just about the same.
Yeah, I think that virtually all potatoes you have to kind of plan on this. Now, it is true, you can get more specific information about each of the varieties. And if you're a potato grower, you're going to learn a lot more than this little overview that we're dealing with as far as watering is concerned. But you can sure see the concept of what you're up against here. And you would want to know varietal differences, without a doubt. Yes?
That percent multiplier has to do with how effective the roots are in sucking the water out from the soil.
Yeah, Karen is saying, is the multiplier basically how effective or efficient the plant is at pulling water out of the soil? It's absolutely true. It's showing us how good of root suction the individual type of plant has.
And that's also the hygroscopic, right?
And that, well, yeah, the question is how about the hygroscopic? In potatoes, there's going to be a lot more hygroscopic water than there would be in, say, alfalfa. Because the potatoes, after they pull off their 25%, they're done. They can't pull any more water. Most of these crops can pull quite a bit more. Yeah, potatoes are just a pretty limited little guy. They have to really be babied. I mean, they've been genetically developed through years and years of breeding to get this thing that's just going to bloat itself up. You know, they've taken all the energy out of the roots and out of the leaves and out of all of the plant growth on the surface and try to put it all into the tubers to maximize production. And you look at original potatoes from the Peruvian Andes, you know, and their little itty bitty things look like little golf balls. Well, now we get potatoes that are monsters. And so the plant's obviously having to put its energy into growing tubers and less effort into doing other things.
Because the root is the plant, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much the root is the bulk of the plant. Yeah, the tuber itself is a bulk of the root, so to speak.